think I need a nap. Yo, what is up? Welcome back to another week of How to Health. My name is Kevin. I run liftandbalance.com, where we take aim at all things health and do it in an odd, weird, interesting, and highly sarcastic manner. Today, we are talking about the road to OMAD, otherwise known as 1 meal a day, a time-restricted feeding protocol that I've been following and documenting over the last couple of months. So due to the growing interest of the protocol here on YouTube and on my even more odd, weird, interesting, and sarcastic platform, TikTok, I thought it'd be worth to explain a safe and sustainable way to progress to 1 meal a day. Because we know sustainable change is the best change, right? And a protocol like this will probably provide enhanced longevity benefits when sustained for a few weeks to a few months. Oh, and if you didn't already know, that's what we focus on here. Not weight loss, not fat loss, not muscle gain, but longevity. Pushing those healthy years of life as far out as possible by building the daily sustainable micro habits that we can take with us for the rest of our lives. Focusing on improving our health at the cellular and metabolic levels. Not only positioning you for a healthy, disease-free future, but a pretty effing awesome tomorrow. You feel me? Good. First, let's clear up some nomenclature. Intermittent fasting, IF versus TRF, time-restricted feeding. These two are mixed up all the time. So fair warning, anytime you see these terms in the wild, mainly intermittent fasting, read into it and see what the authors or health gurus are really talking about. By definition, intermittent fasting is a protocol that has fasting periods that span over 24 hours. Think of alternate day fasting. Think of a 5 and 2 or 6 and 1. Eating 5 days, fasting 2, or eating 6 days, fasting 1, or even a 48-hour fast once a month. All fasting periods within intermittent fasting span over 24 hours. Now, time-restricted feeding, or sometimes called time-restricted eating, TRF, TRE, is your feeding fasting breakdown within a 24-hour period, otherwise known as a day. This includes a 14-10, a 16-8, an 18-6, a 24, 2MAD, OMAD, the warrior diet, and all of their friends. Again, 99% of the population uses intermittent fasting as the broad term for everything, so just be aware. Now you know. The more you know. Moving on. Let's talk OMAD. In the grand scheme of things, OMAD is just another form of time-restricted feeding. One of the most extreme forms before making the leap to intermittent fasting. It's basically a 23-and-1 or 22-and-2. Meaning 23 hours of fasting, 1 hour of feeding, or 22 hours of fasting and 2 hours of feeding. My personal OMAD protocol, I do a 22-and-2 with a 2-hour grazing window to finish my big 1 meal, because it is a big meal. Yes! You can see it. We talked about it in other videos. And after following OMAD for just over 6 months, I found that it comes with a number of conveniences and inconveniences. Let's talk about them. The good news is with OMAD, you don't have to count any calories. You don't have to restrict yourself of any food groups. Give up your favorite meal or stick to a set of complicated diet rules. You just eat 1 wholesome meal a day. Now, this doesn't in fact mean you should just eat whatever you want. No eating protocol is really going to protect you from the metabolic consequences of a highly refined, highly processed, shitty diet. And my personal philosophy is if you're going to go so far in sacrificing something for your health, you might as well eat some real nourishing foods that your body is going to reward you for even more and maximize the benefits. Just me. And another upside I found is essentially you probably won't, and I say probably, have as much dishes and cleanup to do. Everyone's favorite thing. Sometimes it's the little things, especially if you live in New York City and you have no dishwasher. Makes a difference. Now, all that being said, let's talk about some of the challenges. Limiting your food consumption to 1 meal a day can have both a physical and mental toll. And that right here is one of the reasons we're having this little talk. It can and will be challenging, especially if you just dive right in head first without taking the proper steps, which we're about to talk about. And timing is also a tricky subject. In an ideal world, you would want to eat somewhere in the middle of the day, so you're not sitting down hungry all day. But that dinner thing and being social thing tend to get in the way, unless there was like some sort of quarantine, or that would never happen. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, another area of concern with OMAD is if you're eating later in the day, you could be sacrificing and potentially impacting sleep quality, particularly deep sleep, because you are going to be digesting a bigger meal for a longer period of time. We talk all about meal timing and sleep in this video up here. So those are the pros and cons. Now let's, dive into a little bit of the research around OMAD and see if it's really worth it. And this is tough because when we look into the science, the human literature is pretty limited, with no clear evidence that OMAD provides any enhanced benefits when it comes to weight loss compared to the more lenient TRF protocols such as 16-8 and 18-6. But remember, that's not what we're focused on here. We're focused on longevity, improving cellular and metabolic health, which more times than not drives the oh-so-desired outcome of weight loss. Now, when we look at some animal research, a 2018 study published in the journal Cell Metabolism displayed something interesting. Mice that ate one meal a day, thus had a longer fasting window, seemed to have a longer lifespan and better outcomes for common age-related liver and metabolic diseases, compared to mice who ate the same amount of food, the same number of calories, but had ad libitum, or anytime, anywhere access to the food. This is interesting, with one minor issue. Mice are not humans. But some humans are rats. I stole that joke. It's too good though. With all that being said, we need more research. And let me bring you in on a little secret. We're always gonna need more research. So sometimes you just gotta tap into the old Stoic philosophy. Do what you can with what you got. Go a little rogue. Be your own N of one experiment. But always talk to your doctor. Disclaimer, with a wink. The good news is the science around fasting in general is growing at a rapid pace. And we cover all the new and relevant research that's being published on the highly informative Fasting 101 playlist that you can check out on the Lift and Balance YouTube homepage. Some of the notable benefits that fasting has been associated with include improved glucose control, insulin sensitivity, weight loss and fat loss, hormone control, reduced inflammation, beneficial gene expression, lower oxidative stress, an increase in our self-recycling program autophagy, stem cell reawakening, and improved heart and brain health. And in my personal opinion, not fact, personal opinion, the longer fasting windows that we have following a TRF protocol, the greater likelihood we'll see more longevity benefits. Now, to be clear, I said longevity. This may not be the case if you have a different goal. For example, rapid muscle gain. If you're an athlete or competitive lifter or just want to build muscle, one meal a day, probably not the best bet there. But if you're looking to turn on longevity pathways at the cellular and metabolic level, I say it's a good fit. So let's talk about how you can slowly and sustainably work your way up to a fasting protocol that fits your lifestyle. P.S. I am not saying OMAD is the right choice for everyone. Every single person is in a different position with different underlying conditions and different lifestyle and environmental circumstances. It would be clearly ignorant and absurd to suggest one protocol is better than another without having any of the underlying information. And the human research to date has shown that any feeding window 10 hours or less has some longevity benefits. So use this strategy as a guide, not the holy grail of what you should do. And when you reach a fasting feeding window that you're comfortable with, that fits your lifestyle, go with that. anything, like I said before, is better than the typical Western status quo. Okay? Cool. The process. Here's how you can tune your IF or TRF protocol and make your way to OMAD. If you were listening, you know IF wouldn't count here, but it was a test. It was a test. Not a typo in the script. A test. First, the mushy gushy stuff.
I'm not crying, okay? I'm allergic to jerks.
Determine your why, because if you don't have a why, in times of doubt and weakness, you'll fall off the wagon. And that's fine. You just need to have that why to get back on the wagon. This why can be anything from improving an existing metabolic disease, such as diabetes or heart disease, weight loss or fat loss, controlling your binge eating, better sleep, or just preventative longevity in general. Next is a very important key step where you need to baseline your current habits. And I'm going to tell you how to do this. Spend a week observing and even writing down, if you need to, your daily week and weekend eating habits. When you start eating each and every day, when you end eating each and every day for the whole week. Get your typical schedule down. And when I talk about start and stop, when you start consuming energy and when you stop consuming energy. So think of it like this: milk or sugar in your coffee in the morning. That opens up your feeding window. That late night glass of wine or nightcap, glass of bourbon, that closes your feeding window. Any calorie consuming liquids or solids will turn on your digestive system and organs as a whole. So all that counts. And as you're going through this week baseline, notice if you are actually hungry when you eat these certain foods, because there is such a thing about being preconditioned to eat when you're in certain environments. So do your best to record if you are actually hungry before and after your meals. Next, after you get that week baseline down, written down, you understand your eating habits, you've identified your current feeding window each and every day, or the gist estimates of your feeding window each and every day, because you might be a little sporadic and have different start and stops times every day. So pick the average. And you could very well see that the weekend is a lot different than the weekdays. So that's something to keep note of. But once you get this baseline, pick your ideal feeding windows. And here's some questions to consider. Does your current lifestyle have you eating more in the morning or more at night? There's some interesting data out there around early time-restricted feeding and how we are better equipped as an organism to metabolize our energy earlier in the day rather than later in the day. That's why I'm following early time-restricted feeding. That's why I'm following early OMAD right now. But again, that's a little more on the extreme spectrum. So what I want you to do is identify if your current lifestyle fits better with a evening eating schedule or a morning and afternoon eating schedule. Everyone's different. And don't worry, no one's taking dinner away from you. Don't worry, relax. I could see you worrying through the camera. Don't worry. Other things to consider when you're identifying your ideal feeding window is your work schedule, your family time, your exercise, and bed timing. Again, we cover it in a recently published meal timing video. I'll link it all down below. I will say this: whatever window you choose, in an ideal world, you're gonna wanna finish your last meal 2 to 3 hours before bedtime to make sure you're not impairing that oh so important sleep quality. Just gonna throw that out there. We talk about it on a lot of other videos, but had to sprinkle that one in. Now, once you've baselined yourself and picked your ideal feeding window, it's time to progressively adjust your hours. Every 2 weeks, shorten your eating window either 15 minutes or 30 minutes on each end of the spectrum, and continue until you've hit that desired time-restricted feeding window. You're playing the long game here. No need to rush. Remember, sustainable change is the best change. And if you really want to maximize the benefits of your fasting protocol, begin to become intentional with your meals. Improve the quality of food that you're putting in your body. Aim for a lot of nutrient-dense and fiber-rich plants, along with high-quality, sustainably farmed or caught meats, organic and non-GMO where you can. And lastly, as part of this strategy, plan for life. Life happens. Things are going to happen. Accept it and move on. For example, if you're an early time restricted feeder and you have a late night event, dinner, social gathering coming up, plan ahead, shift your window for that day, and hold on to the previous day fast just a tad bit longer than usual. I do this all the time, especially being an early time restricted feeder and having to do pre-quarantine events like social dinners, work gatherings, and things like that. You get used to it. And the next day, you get right back to it. And if, more likely when, you fall off the wagon, get up, dust yourself off, and let it go. Tomorrow is a new day. Don't dwell on something you can't control anymore. The past. Focus on the here and now. It's a consistency and mindset game more than anything else. Be cool with a fuck up here and there. Don't take yourself too seriously. If a fasting protocol is adding more stress to your life, then you have to reassess it immediately. Bad stress, not good stress. There are two kinds, as we see in this video. And with that strategy right there, you'll slowly and sustainably make it to the protocol that fits your lifestyle, whether it be OMAD or not. And that's it. As always, let me know your questions, personal tips, and stories down in the comments below. Always interested in learning and hearing from you guys. And remember, there is no better day to start investing in your most valuable asset. I'll let you figure that one out.